if we're going to go straight into it, as Zalae and Fr0zen both have banned the priests. And we're going to go into this matchup with only Warrior as a common denominator. We have Demon Hunter and Druid versus Warrior and Mage. Trying to look at the and the Rogue, excuse me, not the Warrior and Mage difference. Fr0zen's Rogue in general seems to be kind of like one that has much more of a feast or famine kind of dynamic, where like either it looks really powerful and overwhelming, or sometimes it just kind of does a lot of nothing. And I kind of wonder if Fr0zen and his lineup is enough to take down Zalae, who seems to have like a lot of just powerful things going on in his lineup. It's just like a lot of power turns with his Demon Hunter, with his Big Warrior, with his Druid.
I mean, his decks are like faster, right? They operate faster, and you're usually playing with initiative in pretty much any matchup that you're going to face with Zalae. Yeah, all three of these decks, you're playing with initiative in almost all of Fr0zen's decks, because it looks like the priest was banned away. So when you have that type of agency, you can make things happen. And obviously, Fr0zen has proven that this lineup is consistent, and that he's consistent playing with it, because he came out of the Swiss stage this week as the number 1 seed, only losing one match, which he actually didn't lose a match. He lost. He had a default loss in round 7 because I don't know, knew he was first seed. And
I think he was like,
he didn't play.
Was guaranteed, so he probably didn't need to. But either way, Fr0zen looks pretty sharp right now this week, and seems like everything is still looking pretty good, and high chance for him to go to Division A, given that he's made to another top 8.
Yeah, 18 and 8 was his total game score, which is pretty absurd throughout the Swiss. That's actually incredibly impressive. So he is going to queue up the Secret Rogue first. A little bit different than what we have seen throughout most of the day, it feels, with kind of a similar list, except instead of the secret package, like Bloody Face, for instance, is running the stealth package. But similar value tools and threats like Questing Adventurer, Wand Thief, Evil Miscreant. Zalae going to go with the Spell Druid here. Felt like he had a rough pan out in the game we saw of the Spell Druid in the last series. He had the ramp, but then just kind of drew into a whole lot of nothing and could never piece together a real power turn. But this deck has some insane potential. If you hit ramp and then hit Guardian Animals or the Exotic Mount Seller, you can oftentimes have an insurmountable board very early on to the game, earlier than most decks can be able to deal with it. So I feel like even with the nerf to Kael'thas, which was one of the main engines behind the Druid deck, it's still in a great position, and it just allows you more room for like Exotic Mount Seller and fodder for Exotic Mount Seller.
Yeah, very much so. So looks like the Exotic Mount Seller list, I'm still unsure about. I think against certain matchups it looks really powerful, and that but then there's like the situations where your opponent just plays removal and there's nothing left to buff with Survival of the Fittest anymore. So I feel like Druid is more of a risky bring this week. I also am not sure if Kael'thas going to 1 mana means that it's completely unplayable. It just means that it's a lot harder. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure, right? Because making a 10-mana card cost 1 is still entirely fair and kind of crazy to do as a power per turn. So I think maybe there's not a lot of time to test because the balance patch dropped, and I think a few hours later they have to submit decks. I think that timeline is kind of what happened. So not too much available at these players' disposal, but yet at the same time, I kind of admire that some players took bigger risks this week. And that's what we want to see, right? Like one of the things about Grandmasters, even from the very beginning of the first season, was that there wasn't enough risk being brought. And now it feels like these Grandmasters have a lot of different opinions, schools of thoughts going into each week. And that makes me really excited to see who ends up being the right one, at least by the results. Even if some players are theoretically correct, sometimes the results don't pan out. But it's always fun to see the bragging rights and see, players jab each other for like, oh, I can't believe people aren't bringing this deck, or whoever thought bringing this card was a good idea.
Even just look at this series. Both these players differ in opinion so much that they don't even share a single archetype. Zalae has Big Warrior, Fr0zen has Bomb Warrior. Fr0zen has Highlander Priest, Zalae has Galakron Priest, and then their other 4 classes combined, the 2 of them are 4 completely different classes. So,
right.
And both of them made top 8. Yeah, both of them made top 8. So you can have success with a lot of different lineups, and we're seeing that even in the differences in decks across regions. Where look back to week number 1 in Europe, where Tempo Mage was the forerunner in Europe. Even though the deck may not have performed well, it was still brought by nearly every player. Whereas it's kind of dying off despite not having any changes to the deck, but maybe just changes to the metagame, changes in player perception. So, and looking across, that's I said it before. It's going to be 6 unique archetypes.
That's right. And so, look like Fr0zen has a different hoodie on every single time we see him compete. I think last series he had a black one on. I think this one he has a white one on. The next one he's going to put on his Marvel Team Liquid jersey.
I think he had the Marvel one last week.
I must protect.
Oh yeah, he's on rotation.
Yeah, I think it actually might have been Bunny Hopper, but I remember seeing the Marvel one, but it was one of them. All right, Edwin Van Cleef, opening hand for Fr0zen. Not on coin, but still, it's Edwin Van Cleef. Like Skyship is interesting. I wouldn't call it criticism, but I questioned the choice last week when Fr0zen played. Just because it's
he's taken a little bit of it, though. He replaced Jandis. It's not in his rogue deck anymore.
Yeah, but Flick is still there. We saw a lot of times, especially in a deck like this, when you're running Secret Passage, you don't want a bunch of situational removal cards because when you play Secret Passage, you want to get things that you can dump or play to put additional value in your hand. That type of thing. Whereas Flick does not fit that bill and a lot of times can mess up some turns that would otherwise be more powerful. But you can't deny just the straight up power level of Flick. And it could have merit against Druid, where if they play a beast out into the board or they pull one out for Guardian Animals and you flick it, it could mean that another Guardian Animals that they have in hand is dead, or the next one that they draw is dead. The card does have merits, but I feel like from my own experience, it hasn't worked out the best. But he put it in his deck 2 weeks in a row and cut Jandis over it, so I'm not going to argue with Fr0zen. His results speak for itself. He didn't have a real loss in the Swiss stages, only had a default loss in his 6-1 score.
Yeah, and a rogue deck had a lot to do with it, and quite frankly, I feel like Fr0zen is underappreciated with his deck building abilities. I think people I think that he looks at cards and understands that this is like a specific game plan that he wants to be doing with this deck against certain matchups. And I feel like a lot of players might not be appreciating that enough versus this is universally good because you just want to play like this kind of game plan. And wow. Lightning Bloom, Innervate. Finds Glowfly Storm, Claw, and Soul of the Forest. Glowfly Storm is probably the best card here, given that he has Overflow, but I mean, he's not going to be able to play cards for a while. Maybe Claw makes more sense because you're able to at least play it next turn.
Yeah, he is going to be on 3 mana next turn.
Time waits for no one.
Yeah, I think Claw makes the most sense, particularly because you still have to find a way to... Oh, wow. Finds the Twilight Runner. Just to say, you're gonna have to... You want to have you want a way to be able to push damage to face, but this is a really, really strong turn. Oh. Fr0zen, the Wand Thief, finds...
Oh!
Oh, that's clever. Ancient Mysteries draws a 0-mana secret, and then you can play an Edwin Van Cleave right after.
Imagine if he had done that last turn. He had a Shadow Jewel Hanar on board.
I know.
I was thinking about it, like, is there any merit? Because he could also, last turn he could have just found a secret, but it's with Edwin in hand, that would have been a lot of resources just to discover a secret from Shadow Jewel or Hanar.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas this turn,
is at its best when it survives, and then you get a full mana expenditure. But if you get to play one secret and discover a secret, it's okay.
Yeah. Whereas this turn, there's so many, wins. Obviously, this is a pretty big win because he not only gets to make a big Edwin, but he also drew a secret from his deck and gets to play it. Where he could have also gotten from the Wand Thief any mage spell that cost 2 or less, and it would have fit into his game plan. Where if he played it last turn, he would have been all in on a secret because he couldn't have followed up anything with it because he only had 3 mana. So I like the hold. But a 10/10, I mean, I would say not the easiest thing to deal with, but Zalae can deal with it on board.
You could deal with it on board. He might even actually be able to deal with it in a really interesting way by trading the Teacher's Pet, seeing what happens, and then use the animated Broomstick even.
Yeah.
Potentially to kill off the Edwin and save his Teacher's Pet. Either way, it's interesting that Zalae isn't starting off with card draw. Like, usually I wonder if that ends up influencing the play or whatnot. Like, if you end up playing the Twilight Runner, and then let's say you get like Lightning Bloom number 2.
Yeah. You could also do something like trade in Teacher's Pet, and then animated Broomstick, rush the minion from Teacher's Pet into the Wand Thief, and then rush the Broom into the Edwin, killing it off.
Yeah, I think we can kind of agree that either way, I don't feel like Zalae needed to trade in the Twilight Runner so aggressively, but I don't think it's necessarily incorrect to do that. And I mean, he ended up saving the Teacher's Pet.
Yeah, which also saving the Broomstick, which has a lot of merit because.
Jeez, that's a lot of spells for really cheap.
Yeah.
Too bad Edwin just got played.
I know. He could, like... No, I can do that. I was going to say Wrath for questing adventure. Ambush, because he doesn't have a secret in hand, but he has a Blackjack Stunner. Could actually just use it this turn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the stuff right there.
Mamma mia. I mean... Fight fire with fire, right? They play a 12-12, you play a 10-10 with Divine Shield Reborn. It's only fair. Yeah, Colossus of the Moon, 10 mana, 10-10, Divine Shield Reborn. Generally too expensive and what rogues don't want to see, even though late game it ends up being a high use for them. As rogue, you generally favor getting onto the board very quickly, not like a slow progression of minions that you want to play on curve. So generally, as oh my goodness,
oh no,
he increased the power on board with King Mukla. But yeah, generally as rogue, it's actually not advisable for you to use all your mana every single turn just playing a single minion. Some turns is okay though.
Yeah.
But yeah, class has never excelled doing stuff like that. Versus Druid, on the other hand, now that's a class that's done perfectly fine, just playing as many mana crystals as they can on one minion.
A lot of times that involves killing you, though. So, and
yes.
And to be fair, they also have, on average, way more mana crystals than their opponent when they do spend all of their mana crystals on a single big minion. Oh well. This turn from Zalae, no matter which way you slice it, is going to be not optimal.
Time waits for
Yeah.
no one.
Zalae, I mean, he's just going to set up for his mana crystals. And I mean, the onus is pretty much on Fr0zen, to be quite honest. Like, he has a bunch of explosive potential. Zalae has a bunch of explosive potential, and Fr0zen has to figure out a way to pressure and, like, answer that. if Fr0zen just kind of plays reactive, Zalae's going to win this game. Because that's not what Rogue excels at. That's not their win condition. That's not even really possible, given how low curve and low value a lot of his cards are, but high tempo.
Yeah.
Oh, up to no good. Me too.
I guess at the same time, Fr0zen doesn't exactly have some of his best tempo tools for quite some time, so he just has to kind of stall. Really stings that he has to use Blackjack Stunner on a King Mukla. As
It honestly makes things
maybe
awkward for Zalae, though, because if he wants to draw cards like play an Overflow here, then King Mukla is just taking up space in his hand. But, yeah. Not the best. Yeah, only 2 Leg Threshers left in the deck as beasts. So he pulled the 1 Teacher's Pet, and the Twilight Runner earlier has the other Twilight Runner in hand. Ooh,
yeah, his Leg Thresher is not actually doing too much here.
Yeah, he could dump Bog Beam or a full clear, but it's just 1 attack minions, and he has a Mount Seller in hand.
Right.
With a broomstick.
Also, I think he knows what secret this is, right? He knows this is Plagiarize number 2 because he saw no secret tricks.
No, it could be Plagiarize or Ambush.
Ambush, yeah, you're right.
And now he knows that it's Ambush.
Yeah.
There's the flick! Woo. I'm eating my words, Dan. That was sick.
That was sick Sky Shiv.
That's what they call him on the streets of...
Where's
he from?
Flick.
Which set was Flick from?
Wasn't it Rise of Shadows?
Yeah, so Dalaran? That's what they call him on the streets of Dalaran.
No, he's from Descent of Dragons.
Come on, Dan!
I apologize. No, yeah.
Yeah, Descent of Dragons.
It was from Descent of Dragons.
Alright, I don't even know what city that set's based off of. City in the middle of Outland, who knows?
Whatever
Not
Galakrond is
Northrend.
from, so... I don't know. He's not even from a city. He's just like this eternal giant dragon of all dragons, right?
Yeah.
More porcupines, lions,
For no one.
snakes with full bellies. He looks very full. I want to be that snake in about 3 hours.
I want to be that
Crystal
snake
power.
every
this is
second
just
of
a
every
lot.
day.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, Fr0zen can flick this exotic Mount Seller, which will take out another threat from Zalae's deck, but he doesn't have a great way to deal with everything else on the board, and he's at 19 health.
Well, that helps, and he's got backstab. And this is, well, if he wants to deal with some of these minions, he would want to Goblin Lackey, but finds a secret passage.
That has to be the choice, yeah.
I would presume so. Speaker Hydra with an overflow. After you can take some trades.
Could also go for like Twilight Runner. Twilight Runner, Mukla, Broomstick.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that way better, actually.
And then you still
The
push
reason
the
being is
damage
that-
with all the minions.
Yeah, you're going wider, which is what Rogue actually struggles to deal with. Not to mention that you're able to kind of still keep up your card draw.
Yeah. And he's so far behind, or Fr0zen so far behind right now that Zalae doesn't care about the bananas. If he wants to make a big questing adventure, by all means, do it. Now Fr0zen approaching his last turn, unless he can find some sort of miracle here. Backstab and try and clear off what he can before this secret passage is going to come out. But it feels like he needs like Wand Thief into... I mean, Wand Thief into Frost Nova, like yeah. Even Flame Strike, he would take 2 damage and still leave 2 attack on board. Okay, there's the Wand Thief.
Shadow Step. Does he not want to look at another card? Discard these. I guess he could Secret Passage again, which is always a fun dynamic for Rogue. Secret Passage into another Secret Passage. Arcane Breath.
Okay, take off some power. Still lethal presented on board though. Needs to find something.
Then he doesn't have the secret play for the Blackjack Stunner. Just everything a little bit off. Zalae's Druid deck takes the win as he improves to a 1-0 score, 2 games away from advancing forward. But, you know, kind of what we're talking about, that Rogue deck just kind of floundered around for a little bit, not able to actually put together a meaningful offensive after that Edwin Van Cleef. And that is my number one concern when I play that deck. You know, we jam games of a lot of these players' decks all the time, and that Rogue deck went 2-8 for me. It was very, very poor, and I chalked it up to just like maybe play error. Like I clearly don't know what I'm doing a lot of times, but like at the same time, I felt similar. I felt like I was in so many positions where I struggled to win, or even find a way to win. But I mean, that could be just a different environment, or maybe Fr0zen just understands the deck a little bit more. Either way, that Rogue deck is now down because remember, we're playing last hero standing, and Zalae will stay on the Druid. That leads us to our next break, and we're going to take a few minutes. When we come back, we have more Hearthstone Grandmasters action for the Americas. Stay tuned.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile.
I mean, I'm already halfway on the hair, so I'll lose the rest of that as well.
Half my money.
Half of my money.
All of my hair.
All of my hair.
All my hair, yeah.
I think I will prefer losing my hair, actually. Yeah, you lose your hair, but you can put on... I can put on fake hair or implant fake hair. I have money to put on fake hair, so...
I would prefer to lose half of my money than losing my hair. I don't know, like I will look strange bald.
I would rather lose all my hair than lose half of my money, because I think I would look great even without hair. I already made the peace with the thought.
제가 그러지 못하기도 하고, 그래서 이제 그런 재밌는 사람이 되기를 원하고.
둘 중에 하나 선택해야 된다면 제일 똑똑한 사람이 되고 싶어요.
I would rather be the funny man than intelligent man, but in fact, I think I am the intelligent man, not funny man.
我会选择做一个最快乐的人吧。就是最快，因为我觉得，在一个很多人的地方的话，很多人的地方很需要有一个就是很懂得搞气氛的人，不然会很无聊。
I
feel like being the funniest person in a room requires a lot of energy. It's very exhausting, I feel like. And I'm just more chill, laid back. I'd rather be the most intelligent person.
比较搞笑，比较开心啊，会让很多人开心啊。
Do you think you are the most intelligent person in this room?
Do I think I am the most intelligent person in this room? No, I think Sato is the most intelligent person in this room.
Correct answer.
To the old scholomance, the magic school of your legacy of glory shines. May they stand forevermore. Take your place where magic bends to your will, but you'll have to study hard. So many clubs and cults. Excuse me, I misspoke. Take your pick out in the yard. Test your brains or put their spells for a top double major honor roll. Just be sure to stay upstairs in the hall. Else Countless will steal your soul.
They're kidding, of course.
Dear Magic School, we vow to stay right and true. A soloist, we love you. Hey, hey, USA!
Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas as we go into game number 2 between Fr0zen and Zalae. Fr0zen and Zalae, two players who have been historically great in Hearthstone's history, and it seems like we're coming up on an opportunity for either of them to really continue their legacy here in week number 2. Game number 2 will feature Fr0zen's Bomb Warrior, as he has chosen to switch to it in response to the Druid from Zalae. Druid seems to be doing okay. What are the stats that we have, TJ, behind Druid for this week in Americas?
It's just a middling performance, floating around 50%, or that's across all regions. But I feel like that's just been the story of it. I think it's a decent first Q deck because it has chances to win against just about everything. But there are some decks that it can struggle against, and I think Warrior's one of them. So wise of Fr0zen to Q his Warrior. There's just so much removal packed in this deck. Fr0zen has even added in additional removal with the single copy of Coerce. So he has Risky Skipper package, double Blade Storm, double Brawl, plus a Coerce, Zephyrus if he gets late enough into the game, and the Deathwing Mad aspect. So if you look at it from that perspective, effectively Fr0zen's game plan is just to keep shuffling bombs in the deck, keep dealing damage to Zalae, and killing every single thing that he plays. Sometimes it's not that simple, sometimes it doesn't line up that way, but that's the game plan.
All right, well, we'll see if that game plan can come through as Zalae nature studies into wild growth.
Into
with an
overgrowth
in hand.
He just needs follow-up.
Yes, very much so.
That's not the follow-up he's looking for, but still a turn in order to pick up the follow-up. Which in this case, actually, if Fr0zen plays something, could be either Guardian Animals or Exotic Mount Seller. I would even accept an Overgrowth in this position if I were Zalae, just to kind of get all rolling a little bit. And there's the bombs. Both players doing exactly what their decks are designed to do.
Yeah, so what ends up happening then if both players end up drawing well or like above average? Who ends up getting the edge ahead? And I argue that Druid has one of the more unstoppable hands in the entire game.
Yes.
They are able to get their momentum because they just get so much more mana to play with, which means they have so many more options. So I feel like this is a better start for Zalae in the ideal outcomes here.
Yeah. Though if both players can choose their draws, Fr0zen would just choose Wrench Caliber upgrades and every piece of removal he has. So,
right.
Druid would just be playing bomb after bomb after bomb, and Fr0zen would be just removing and then shuffling bomb after bomb after bomb. And then we get into an endless loop. Okay,
oh
there's a
my
Mukla.
goodness, what keeps happening to get these King Muklas?
Time waits for no one.
Another Iron Bark just to keep stacking his advantage. And for here, Fr0zen might be tempted just to go ahead and brawl. But 3 out of the 4 outcomes, he can't even actually deal anything with it. And if the Mount Slayer survives, well, I mean, the taunt survives and you can't really attack into it. So there's that. So from here, I think from Zalae's perspective, he can actually go for either development again, because he just saw a brawl, which means that it's harder for Fr0zen to deal with minions, or he can just go for overflow and just kind of take it a little bit easier.
I
Not
might
have to keep the gas on.
I might be more interested in overflow, just because with Broomstick in hand, he actually can attack in with Twilight Runner right away. Also, his board would be weak to Blade Storm, because Fr0zen would just Blade Storm and then attack with Wrench Caliber, and that would be that. So I'm leaning towards overflow. Zalae also is leaning towards overflow. Picks up Guardian Animals and does not draw any of his beasts. Oh, yep, draws Teacher's Pet. So now, still 1 Twilight Runner and both Lake Threshers in deck, and has plenty of options as far as what kind of threats to play next turn. Could go for Guardian Animals or could go for Exotic Mount Slayer if he picks up another cheap spell.
Right.
And Fr0zen, coerce and keep pushing. That's the deck.
I mean, it's pretty much just keep swinging weapons, keep shuffling bombs, keep up the pressure, and pretty soon there's just gonna be too much stuff coming up. But that bomb draw, I mean, helps get the damage in. Exotic Mount Seller. Wow, this turn actually has several different things that you could be doing here now that he drew Lightning Bloom. And Zalae kind of deep into tank when he's covering the nose. That's when you know Zalae is deep in thought here. My first inclination was how can we build up the biggest board possible since he's already used Brawl.
Yeah,
it's actually not that big because Exotic Mount Seller is not. You can't really utilize things like Overgrowth and the extra excess mana here, so it might instead just be a double 5-drop, or it might be a Guardian Animals play.
I think Guardian Animals. I don't want to use the Lightning Bloom here. just because I want full mana next turn. I don't think he also wants to risk drawing the beast, but this I did not expect.
Yes.
Speaker Gidra and the teacher's pet.
Right.
Excuse me, sorry. I didn't have time to click over to my mic, so I just tried to put it above my head. This is smart though, because he wants to play Guardian Animals ASAP because he doesn't want to start drawing into the rest of his beasts and it to lose value. And Warrior doesn't necessarily, outside of Deathwing Mad Aspect, they don't play minions that you absolutely have to like rush into to kill with Speaker Gidra. So playing on the board and having the upside of just being able to attack for 16 the following turn has a lot of merit. And he put it behind the teacher's pet. So that was actually a smart play from Zalae. I would have kind of just ripped the Guardian Animals and say, hey, Bladestorm this, and then I'll follow it up with Exotic Mount Seller. But Zalae went another level where he's like, well, if you Bladestorm this, then I follow that up with Guardian Animals. And then if you clear that, then that's when I play Exotic Mount Seller. So it's a nice amount of layered threats from Zalae. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And
good job, Zalae.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that kind of like, Zalae competed actually in a recent chess tournament and did very well. And it seemed like firing up those juices was interesting to see him in a different environment where you could kind of plan similar type moves that he'd like to do in Hearthstone, but Hearthstone's a little bit more abstract, right, versus chess. Everyone's kind of aware of what limited amount of moves that they can make versus in Hearthstone, they're so dynamic that you're not actually ever sure truly about what outcome to expect sometimes.
Yeah.
Players.
Whew. All right, so Fr0zen here, Blastmaster Boom. Probably the best play. The problem is that the Blastmaster Boom, unless he swings into the Cobra, gets eaten up. And then the Threshers might be able to just clear up the bombs by themselves. The second part is if he plays Blastmaster Boom and swings, then it shuts off the Captain Greenskin in his hand for the Wrench Caliber. He would then have to use it on Anchor unless he draws the second one. But this is just the most pressure on board. And he realizes that with his hand, he doesn't really have time because he's out of removal to try and play a little bit slower. He's got to just go in. And if he starts getting some of these Boombot hits to face, and then Zalae starts getting deeper in his deck to where bombs are a threat, then maybe even the Anchor swings with Captain Greenskin will be enough to push him over the edge. So Zalae's perspective here, my initial instinct was to go for Exotic Mount Seller. He can Exotic Mount Seller. He can trade the Cobra, Exotic Mount Seller, Lightning Bloom, Overgrowth. He has Bog Beam to start cleaning things up. That's the best way to start soaking bomb damage. Zalae disagrees.
Yeah, the situation's pretty tense, and looks like he's just gonna take that risk for now.
Whoa.
Okay.
That was brave.
That was very brave.
That was incredibly brave.
If he lost the poisonous, that could have been disastrous.
Nothing hit his face, and 2 minions survived.
Look at Fr0zen. He was equally surprised.
Yeah, honestly, that was a missequence, but very unlikely that 3 damage goes onto the Emperor Cobra. So, all right, now Fr0zen just starting to swing. He has to play Zephyrus if he wants to kill this Ysera, because it'll pull the Parachute Brigand out. So just armor up it is.
All right, let's see what's in the Dream Portal.
Ooh!
Jeez, that's such a hard card to deal with.
Three bombs left? 4 bombs left. 3 bombs left. He Wrench Caliber from a Corsair cache and played an upgrade, and then 1 bomb was drawn. All right, a measured approach from Zalae.
So measured approach. I'm actually kind of curious why he didn't extend more onto the board. I guess because if he sends onto the board, one, he's kind of like exposing himself again to any kind of big removal like that. And also he fills up his board so that way Dream Portals can't be effective.
Yeah. Fr0zen actually running pretty light on removal in his deck overall. He's used a Brawl, he's used Blade Storms, he's used Coerce. He has Deathwing Mad Aspect, Lord Barav, and Zephyrus if he's able to draw deep enough into his deck. This right here just doesn't kill anything. It gives him some armor and builds up a board, but even with Captain Greenskin and Zephyrus, that only puts the evasive Draconid down to 2 health. So he doesn't even have any pirates in his deck. This is pretty brutal. He needs kind of some runner bombs here. There are 6 portals left in the deck and 3 bombs left in the deck. With Crystal Power, Zalae would be out of range from bomb damage, even if he were to draw every single one.
Well, he's got 12 here. Yeah, actually. Overflow is such an interesting card in this position because of that dynamic. Yeah. So I think he wants to just probably play his best board now that he's seen even more cards from Fr0zen.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind going for, like, even if at this point Fr0zen showed that his hand is weak. So at this point, who cares if you overdraw Dream Portals? Just go in with Exotic Mount Seller. Guarantee you have a board that can threaten lethal the following turn and clean up what your opponent's going to do. Yeah, Crystal Power face, bog beat something down, taunt something up, hit him. You can even use the broomstick just to trade in and not have to use these minions to attack Fr0zen, but looks like he's going to save it. I would have just liked seeing broomstick come out and then like the fairy dragon going in.
Yeah, I think that this is fine though because still in the end he's like kind of presenting.
Wait, Zephyrus is active with 12 cards left.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're right. It does allow him to brawl. Yeah, that's what it would offer him, brawl. And then Zalae has no more minions.
He's got a lot of portals in his deck. Still 5 portals.
But there's a chance. It's actually extremely unlikely that he whiffs on all his portals.
Yeah. And even if Fr0zen manages to get a Ankar swing to the face here, Overflow Zalae wouldn't even be at risk of dying. Well, there's Deathwing Mad Aspect, so if Zalae doesn't get that many portals and the dragons are relatively small on average, he is starting to run out of stuff. He has... Yeah, he literally has 0... no, he has... No, yeah, he literally has 0 minions left in his deck, except for portals. Lake Threshers were pulled out from the Guardian Animals. Teacher's Pet was played onto the board. Maybe he has a Twilight Runner left, actually. Okay. But Twilight Runner at a certain point in the game, not the greatest draw off the top. And, yeah, Fr0zen going to hold off on Zephyrus. Might think that he needs that for lethal, since the bombs currently in the deck aren't enough.
Yeah, this is definitely kind of a weird spot where like Zalae has all the advantages going for him, but he doesn't really have the ability to press in. Where's the survival of the fittest? It's the next card. It's the next card, and he can Lightning Bloom and end the game.
Yeah. If only he had it in his deck.
Yeah. That's kind of the hard part, right? When you cut the Kael'thas and the Survivor of the Fittest, you kind of just like we're talking about, like, really sometimes just run out of stuff to play.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the Zephyrus can get Twisting Nether, but the The 4/4s that remain actually still kill him.
Yep.
So what do we do here then?
He can get Brawl, and one of the 1/2 survives.
Okay.
Or get Shield Slam and then Brawl, and then the 1/2 survives. Well, a lot of things can survive here in order for him to win, except for the exotic mount seller.
It's got to be it's basically just got to be Zephrys.
Yeah. He does have Deathwing Mad Aspect to follow up. Oh, it's Mount Seller.
Oh
no! He's dead.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it was still looking pretty rough for him. That was his last piece of removal. He didn't even have enough damage worth of bombs in the deck to kill Zalae. Even if he drew every single one, it still wasn't enough for him to die. Zalae, after seeing that last piece of removal, could have like overflowed, put all the portals back into his deck, and unless he got extremely unfortunate and didn't draw enough or drew small ones, Deathwing Mad Aspect wouldn't have been enough to clear up. So, pretty rough game, honestly. Fr0zen seemed like he had a good start, but never found the card draw that he needed on time. Didn't find the cutting class, didn't find Risky Skipper plus Battle Rage combo, and wasn't able to keep chaining in bombs. One downside to Fr0zen's warrior list is he doesn't play Horde Pillager, so like once he's used up one Wrench Caliber, if he doesn't find the weapon buffs in order to keep that one Wrench Caliber going, he's relying on actually drawing the second one in order to keep going with bomb stuff. So, but it's worked well for him this far, and I like the additional removal that he has in the deck instead of Horde Pillager. So now Fr0zen turns to Tempo Mage. Tempo Mage versus Druid. This one's rough, Dan. This one is rough. Not the position that Fr0zen wants to be in, I think.
Yep, so I think this kind of position to try to take down Druid from the Mage, as you said, is pretty tough, so I mean, this kind of opening hand is alright. Do you ever keep Sorcerer's Apprentice against Druid in the opening mulligan? I always feel like you only do that if you understand exactly what you want to do the turn you play Sorcerer's Apprentice. Like, if you have Sorcerer's Apprentice, it's because you have Chinvala, or you have Sorcerer's Apprentice because you have Mana Cyclone, and you have, like, all these really big things. So, it looks like Fr0zen ends up throwing it all the way. Doesn't even... I guess he's really searching for any kind of power card that he can get. And he has a couple of cards that can be powerful. Yep. Evocation, Conjurer's Calling, but nothing really of the sort at the moment.
Yeah. You're kind of just looking for card draw because you need to kind of match the ramp. When you're not on coin. When you're on coin, you can honestly argue to keep Sorcerer's Apprentice in any matchup. Just because there's so many things that unlock it. With Mana Cyclone, with Chinvala, as you mentioned.
Right.
Or big minions, you know?
Well, I mean, it seems like this Druid deck's kind of piecing it together. Like, it just has a lot of momentum. It feels like it lacks a Savage Roar, though, to me. I don't know how you feel about it. The Broom is very nice tech. I like that card a lot. It's just...
That's got Nature Study, Dan.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's your roar right there.
There's your roar. The Soul of the Forest, the Glowfly Swarm, the Claws.
Yeah. So, I like the way Fr0zen's playing this. You pretty much just want to play for tempo and piece together a win condition from there. Like, if you get some early damage in, then it makes your randomly generated things easier to deal with. Zalae just going to go in now and stop this tempo in his tracks, knowing that that's really Fr0zen's only win condition, and just going to go ahead and use all of his resources to get this Leg Thresher plus Broomstick out. That's where the tech comes in. Now Fr0zen back to square one. Without really much going for him in his hand, this looks like a cram session for one draw into a Wand Thief. You could also Evocation, but that seems unlikely.
Well, Devolving Missiles might help.
All right.
Might help. Yeah, I like that he's not overreacting too. Like in the end, as much as the Thresher is really annoying and inevitably might become a Battlegrounds card, I think that it's not a card that pressures your life total nearly as much until big buffs start coming.
Yeah, until the survival of the fittest comes out. Oh wait.
Oh wait.
Okay, now we're starting to get a hand. This looks starting to look a little better.
Yeah, these missiles really do
want
want
mana
to
cyclone.
decrease the power, and he did from 8 to 5. That's much more reasonable. Although the Death Rattle will end up buffing the boards, so Fr0zen actually has to be careful about his arcane missiles.
Ooh.
Nature Study into
Ironbark. Oh, Crystal Song Portal with an empty hand. That could be sick.
So close to it, yeah.
So he could take Lightning Bloom and then be able to just have an extra spell with Exotic Mount Seller next turn. He could take Breath of Dreams and just draw a card this turn, which could give him a spell from his deck that can help with Exotic Mount Seller next turn. Okay, that's perfect. Nice.
Pretty close to ideally, yeah.
Yeah. But Crystal Song Portal, if he dumped the Exotic Mount Seller next turn and then didn't draw a minion for the next 2 turns, he could have had 3 random Druid minions.
That's right. It could be anything.
I know it doesn't sound fantastic, Dan, but you never know what's inside the box until you open the box.
The random like minion generation sometimes are super good. Oh jeez. All right, well that got stronger.
The point here was just to get some spells for Mana Cyclone, and he's succeeding in doing that. Oh, another one.
Like he freezes it. If he freezes it, then he has an opportunity to use his Mana Cyclone next turn for potential better trades. But oh my goodness gracious, Mamma Mia!
Which one do you even go with?
Guardian Animals.
Yeah,
it makes the Mount Seller better for sure.
It does make the Mount Seller better, especially since his Leg Thresher's already gone. So this guarantees pulls a Twilight Runner since he only has Teacher's Pet. Just gonna keep drawing cards. Oh. All right. Well, Mana Giant is now 4.
Okay.
So this turn, make the Mana Giant as cheap as possible. Next turn, Mana Giant Conjurer's Calling. All right. Kills the Twilight Runner. So he needs to find one spell that's playable.
Devolving Missiles.
Okay.
And more Arcane Missiles.
I think Fr0zen's going to win this game. He gets 3 8-drops next turn.
Oh, he gets to play Mirror Entities as well if he really wants to.
Yeah, because it would still make... The goal is just to make the Mana Giant cause 0 going into his next turn so he can Mana Giant double Conjurer's Calling. The only thing he has to dodge is his opponent having an insane amount of development, which... The way to counter that is by playing Mirror Entity, so if they do play a big minion, you also get that big minion that they then have to deal with. Yeah.
That's right. And so now Zalae has to actually deal with the Giant and the Mount Seller.
Wait a second. He played the Mana Giant.
Well, that's a risky thing that could have happened here, where he could have lost the Giant and then have no targets for Conjurer's Calling. But I think he feels like he's so behind that he has to take a risk and assume Druid can't remove this. Which we know that they can in a couple different ways. Mount Seller comes down, it's going to actually copy that Mount Seller, so Zalae actually has to kind of make a decision if he kills the exotic Mount Seller right back or leaves that Giant up. Can't do both.
I think...
think that.
I was gonna say, I think that killing the... I guess not. I was just doing some little caster bias. I was thinking that if you kill the Mountain Giant, it works out better against exactly Conjurer's Calling, because if he's Conjurer's Calling the exotic Mountain, he's not getting value from it. Even if the like 8-drops are better.
Wow. Poisonous minion is so good, though, into this.
Yeah, but now it's basically like Fr0zen didn't play the Mana Giant last turn. All right.
It's a Batterhead.
I mean, no, that's awkward because you can't take that trade because then the Emperor Cobra's still there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it kills the 12/12.
Yeah, and then you get a free Ysera Unleashed this turn.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, I mean, he could Speaker Gidra Overgrowth.
Okay.
And then kill the Batterhead because he would have exactly enough damage to kill the Batterhead. And he clears the board that way. Because Speaker Gidra Overgrowth puts the Speaker Gidra at a 5/8, so then he goes over Arcane Devour, over Batterhead, Exotic Monster goes over Batterhead, and then the Golden Scarab goes over the Batterhead. That's a full kill, and then Emperor Cobra goes into the Deathwing Mad Aspect. So then the turn he's left with a 5/5 Exotic Mount Seller and a random beast that's summoned from the Overgrowth. Doubt he wants to Lightning Bloom just to cash in on a beast, because more often than not he's going to be playing a Ysera Unleashed next turn. He's just going to play a Ysera Unleashed.
Yeah, I think this Ysera Unleashed makes the most sense. It kind of has like a lot of synergy, like we're talking about with that Overgrowth and draw. Oh, the greed! Gotta love it.
2 Rush Minions? Rat Spike Brute.
Okay. Both these are actually pretty solid minions, and I think you'd be sad to see either of them die, but... Wow, Poisonous. Just so powerful.
Yeah.
Into this board state here from Fr0zen that just doesn't have enough card draw going. This looks...
This Emperor Cobra killed 2 8-drops. Or effectively killed 2 8-drops. It nullified a Mana Giant attack, killed a Batterhead, and now will either kill a Deathwing Mad Aspect or force Fr0zen to not attack with a 12 attack minion. The beefiest Emperor Cobra to ever walk on the Hearthstone game board. I was going to say the Earth, but...
Yeah, I don't know what kind of snakes walk. Oh, wait, what? Okay. I mean, Zalae's in a really good spot here. Does he want to play Speaker Gidra? I don't think he needs to. Given that he has Overgrowth coming in this turn, but it's totally an option.
This is awkward because Zalae needs 2 attacks to get through this Rat Spike Brute, no matter what he does. So he has to trade the Emperor Cobra into the Rat Spike Brute. And now also because that was poisonous, I still don't think he got an indication of whether or not that was the Miraged minion. Oh, is he going to sink that much damage into the Deathwing Mad Aspect? I guess if he just kills everything that Fr0zen plays, he's just making space.
Yeah, and most likely killing. Yeah, at least some of this board and then pushing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to trade this much damage to Deathwing unless Fr0zen finds a way to get Frost Nova. If he gets Frost Nova...
Wand Thief. Oh, it could happen. Cone of Cold?
It's not enough.
Yeah, Zalae's kind of reeling, but I really don't think you can sink that much damage in Deathwing that aspect. I think you just kind of have to say, if you got it, you got it. Because he would have had to trade.
Maybe.
He would have had to trade all of his minions, or 2 of his minions. I guess Exotic Mount Seller plus Speaker Gidra.
Yeah, I think maybe is the answer, because, like, I mean, Fr0zen had an opportunity to get an out, and you can argue that if he just eliminated that Deathwing, maybe he had no outs. But either way, because of the situation of his health, he can't actually comfortably push because there was 12 damage represented on board.
Yeah.
I supply only the finest creatures.
For rush minions. So, killing the Deathwing. Overgrowth, look for another rush minion. Deathwing again. Excess mana, look for another rush minion. Nope.
Okay.
Didn't draw a portal though, so that's good.
All right.
Cram session.
Cram session.
Ooh,
Nope,
that'll do
that's
it.
Zalae wins 3-0 and advances for the decider match for a chance to go to top 4. He has to first go through Bloody Face, so the rematch from the second match of today, where Bloody Face and Zalae, only one player can go through, and last time it was Bloody Face getting the narrow victory, but I mean, Zalae looks like he's got momentum on his side with a very nice 3-0 with that Druid.
Yeah, I got to be feeling pretty confident. A lot of tough spots for Zalae that he found some creative lines in, or at least I always don't want to call it optimal because it's hard for both of us to probably tell that's optimal, but at least more optimal than the play that jumped out to me to begin with. So really liked the Druid play from Zalae, and it rewards him with a 3-0. So the good news for both of these players, Bloodyface and Zalae, if they make it into the top 4, they don't have to play against Eddie's Turtle Mage until the finals.
Okay.
If they are to make it there. So a nice little treat, little reward at the end of the match for winning. Make it to the top 4, and you have one full match where you don't have to worry about Eddie's Turtle Mage. Bonus.
You love to see an incentive to play for seeding in Hearthstone because we don't really get many opportunities to do so. But that does bring us to the final break of today because we're going to give Zalae a couple minutes to reset and get ready for our last best of 5, which is Bloodyface versus Zalae. So don't go anywhere. More Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas continues when we return.
Hearthstone Grandmasters is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network. T-Mobile.
Hey everyone, it's